Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at inspireddisorder.com/plus.
This is The Ray Taylor Show.
Swipe Up, episode 169. This is the show where I share my opinion on current events. Things that are happening in the world. I have some thoughts on them. I decided to record them in video, in audio formats, and distribute them to the world, the majority of the world, by which will never know. Will never hear my voice, despite the production value. But let's get into it, shall we, with this episode of Swipe Up, starting off with some amazing news. It's really funny how many people really shit on California that just don't live here. And I've experienced this my entire life. Every time that I've traveled outside of California to another state, it is very clear how other people view Californians, as well as how they view Californians who think about or decide to move outside of California. Not welcome tends to be the predominant type of viewpoint, the predominant type of energy that gets pushed in my direction. Thoughts of moving to Portland, no. Thoughts of moving to Denver. I did move to Denver, and it's just all you see are these posts about how people hate Californians. Stop moving here. Stop moving here. Whereas if you've lived in California, right, Southern California is primarily where I've lived my entire life. Palm Springs area, which is close to LA. I've lived in San Diego for like 13 years. And let me tell you that California is full of people from other states. People from other states all over the world, all over the country move to California because it's awesome. They're not moving to Bakersfield, California. They're moving to LA because they want to be, they want to be discovered in Hollywood, or they're moving to San Diego for school or military or the weather, or just beautiful. And Silicon Valley and San Francisco is kind of a hotbed as well. So a bunch of people. So I'm used to being around people that are not from here. And I am completely fine. I'm cool with people in general, but it's weird to go to another state and have like this weird like hatred for California. There's even there's a TikTok account, and the guy on this account, all he does is defend California. He'll find people who post TikToks talking shit about California, and then he'll defend it. It comes across my feed every once in a while, and I'm not a follower of his, but I appreciate he's doing that. I just can't imagine that being your whole identity, is like, I'm the guy who defends California. I don't really feel like California needs defense. I've gotten a lot of benefits from being in California, specifically during the pandemic, while the federal government refused to and stopped a lot of financial services during the pandemic, or dragged their feet to do any in the first place. California had their own. So I got, there's stimulus checks. They boosted the unemployment. The fact that I was even able to get unemployment in the first place, considering I was a gig employee, I was a freelancer, technically, working for like companies like Uber and Lyft and Postmates and all those delivery services. When the pandemic hit, they put a provision into unemployment that allowed for gig workers to receive unemployment. It was a situation where I didn't know if I was going to get a stimulus check. I didn't know I was going to get unemployment, and the amount of unemployment I was given would have been barely enough to survive. But thankfully, because I live in California, not only did I get unemployment, but I also got all of their extra pandemic stimulus money that they attached to the unemployment, and I was able to save that money and focus 100% of my energy doing this stuff to hopefully make enough money to survive and not have to go work for anybody else. But that never would have happened if I lived in another state. Now, there may be other states out there that have similar things to California, the benefits. Texas not being one of them for sure. Florida not being one of them. There's a lot of the red states that really they like their state to be on some kind of socialist program where they get a lot of government aid, but they don't like the people that live in that state to get any aid when it counts. So there's this story right here. California could become the first state in the nation to have universal health care, which is something that should be it should be federally universal health care like yesterday. Like, as far as developed countries in this world, we are falling behind in every single way. It is so clear how little human life is valued in the United States. If humans were considered property, there would be better care taken of humans. But we are not considered property any longer, despite how much the Confederate flag flies around this country. Slavery is supposed to be illegal, aside from the private prisons. And aside from apparently, like, Georgia, there were, like, people, like, slavery was happening in Georgia recently. So people aren't supposed to be considered property. But if we were, we'd probably have better benefits. But thankfully, California is doing some good things, hopefully leading the way, to follow suit, to be the proof of concept. There's so many other countries that have universal health care that, like, apparently isn't good enough to be shown to people to say, look, it works there. Is it perfect? No. But is it better than this bullshit that we're existing in here, where it's like, if I got sick, I remember I got a kidney stone when I was 19. Didn't have health insurance, right? Had a friend drive me to the hospital. They did one ultrasound. I was there for an hour. I had a $4,000 bill at 19 for a kidney stone. I couldn't afford to go back to get the kidney stone analyzed to see what caused it. I couldn't even afford that. I had to, at 19, have 2 jobs to pay for this giant medical bill for an hour. $4,000 an hour for an hour of work. So, like, you get COVID, we're in a giant pandemic. People are coming out of the hospital that don't have insurance with, like, bills that would take a lifetime to pay off. So having the option of a universal health care, I am all for it. I just signed up for just the regular health insurance through California. I don't know if it's Medi-Cal or Medicaid. It's one of those two. And I was approved, but I have to, like, submit forms. Like, I have to prove that I don't have a job and I'm not making money. Like, I have to somehow prove that I don't have income. I don't know how you prove. There's other things that I have to prove that I don't understand how I prove these things. But I got the card, so I think I have it. And there's a due date on the paperwork that I have to submit till April. So I don't know if that means that I have it till April. I don't know. I'm not trying to go anywhere. I'm not trying to get sick. I can't afford it. But if there's something like this, which California Assembly Bill 1400 would create CalCare, a system governed by an independent board of directors that promises access to any doctor regardless of network, and a wide variety of medical services for all state residents. The system would be financed by a broad array of new taxes on individuals and businesses, which is already a giant surplus in California, which is why it was effortless for them to give out extra money in unemployment and extra stimulus checks and all these other programs that have helped people out during a global pandemic that seems to be unending. right? It's battling the Zack Snyder universe of films for being the worst franchise of like every new iteration of this virus, right? Is just worse than the last, and people just eat it up. It's insane. So I'm thankful. Hopefully that goes through. I'm not going to hold my breath, but considering all of the other benefits, which is insane that people wanted to recall Gavin Newsom. It's like, you have no idea. Like, I would be so fucked. I would have easily gotten coronavirus pre-vaccine because I would have had to go get a job at like Walmart if anybody was hiring in the time where only, essential workers and like there was only a few businesses open. Like, I don't know. Like, there was a point before I got any financial aid that like I was basically my roommate, my friend that I live with, was paying for my shit. Like, I was forcing somebody else to go in debt because there was nothing, like politicians were dragging their feet. Like they're trying to carve a new fault line in the Earth's crust. But no, it all worked out. It all worked out, and I'm actually in it gave me more runway to do my things, and hopefully, like, things are trending in a good direction. So I'm just thankful. I'm thankful to be here, and it would have been completely different if I lived in another state. Completely different. The Many Faces is an ongoing abstract ink portrait series that I started many years ago. I release a new face every day, but go to inspireddisorder.com to check them out. So many available. But as a listener to The Ray Taylor Show, you can save 10% when you use coupon code INSPIRED when you check out. So go to inspireddisorder.com/TMF. That stands for The Many Faces. Go check them out, browse the entire collection, and when you decide on a piece, or maybe multiple pieces, make sure you use coupon code INSPIRED when you check out, and you'll save 10%. As a big thank you for checking out my work, for collecting my work, and for listening to The Ray Taylor Show. And with that said, let's get back to the show. But moving on, let's move on to some movie stuff. John Wick Chapter 2. Keanu Reeves performed about 95% of his own stunts, which I would love to see Jackie Chan in an upcoming John Wick film at some point. I want to see Keanu Reeves and Jackie Chan doing stunts together. Yes. Or like a Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise. But I'd prefer Jackie Chan in a John Wick than a Mission Impossible. For sure. Like a fight between Jackie Chan and John Wick. Or them together. Who knows? There's like so many combinations of awesome fight scenes that I would love to see. So apparently the only stunts Keanu Reeves did not do himself in John Wick was when he got hit by a car. And then when he falls down the stairs in the fight with Cashin. So those are the only two stunt scenes that he did not participate in. And all the other ones he did, which, clearly the training that started from The Matrix, just another thing that The Matrix completely altered in movie making is having actors actually prepare and learn how to do a lot of the physical things that are needed, especially in like action movies. And I think the fact that Keanu Reeves was not only one of the pioneers as far as actors doing those things, at least in America, that he has just kind of taken that and applied it, as well as, the filmmakers come from The Matrix as well. But they all know the importance of getting people trained right, and also knowing the potential of what actors can do if they were dedicated to learning, which some are, some aren't. Some movies don't require it. But it's definitely a trend that started with The Matrix. And, I love seeing... I'm angry that there's no John Wick 4. Having to wait another year for John Wick 4. Just release it. Just release it. Put it out on HBO Max. Or put it out like for $20, $30 on VOD. Right? And then when movie theaters open back up, re-release in a movie theater. Like, everybody's acting like they can't put these movies, like they can't put Tenet in a. There's going to be screenings of Tenet again. They're just not going to be making a boatload of money. That's just the only thing they care about is money, because it's like the ability to show a movie doesn't go away once it's not new anymore. Like, you can still re-show movies. There's effortless. There's so many screens everywhere. And it's digital, so you don't even have to, like, it's not like you even have to have projectionists build up a print. You just hit play. They can do it. But anyway, much love to Keanu Reeves and John Wick. Back to California news. I live in California, if you don't know. But there's California adopts drought rules, outlaws water wasting with fines up to $500. Regulations adopted by the State Water Resource Control Board prohibit overwatering yards, washing cars without a shutoff nozzle, and hosing down sidewalks or watering grass within 48 hours after rainfall. The main reason I wanted to bring this up is not only climate change and drought and stuff that I remember, California drought, having to deal with my entire life living out here. Seems like there's always a drought. But I've also had the question, being somebody who grew up in the Coachella Valley, Palm Springs area, for those that don't know, about 2 hours east of LA. It is a vacation spot. We get a lot of people that are here through the winter months, and then everybody leaves during the summer months. But what this valley has that is very unique to, I believe, the world is that we have over 130 golf courses. And what I see growing up out here is that all those golf courses stay green year-round. Doesn't matter if there's a drought. I remember the last drought. I was moving to Denver. I believe it was 2015. Big drought stuff in California. Off and on. It's like fire season now, except for fire seasons used to be every once in a while. Now they're a yearly thing. Drought is probably going to be similarly the same. But you will see just large sections of land being watered. And that's not even the golf courses. Those are like parking lots for, I specifically was the tennis, where they do there's a tennis tournament that goes on. Big, the Parabas in Indian Wells, a big tennis tournament. Huge event that happens. And the parking areas are grassed parking areas. And those are watered. Because you got to have, we're in a desert, by the way. For those that don't know, the Coachella Valley is a desert. I believe LA is a desert as well. And it's a desert because it doesn't rain a lot. There's not a lot of lush greenery in a desert. Rains very sparingly. Plants are designed, cactuses, to soak that up like a camel and store it. This is not an area that is welcoming to grass, especially the types of lush grass that grow on golf courses and, in some cases, parking lots. But this stuff is aimed at residents, which makes sense. I've been doing this stuff, not wasting water. Something that has been a part of my life, my entire life growing up here. Being conscious of how much water I'm using. Not just letting the hose run. If you've got a broken sprinkler, you got to fix it right away. But when you're comparing that, and I don't see anything, I don't see any golf courses going brown. All of these golf courses, which primarily nobody in this that lives in this valley has access to. You have to be a member, right? You have to have a certain financial status to be able to afford even being able to, like, look at this grass. And some people live there. They're gated communities. There's resorts. Over 130 golf courses. Now, you're telling me golf courses, 130 golf courses, are probably doing, let's just say, 100x for what the residents are doing. Because most of the residents don't have lawns. A lot of people that live in the desert have, because of this constant drought stuff, like they have like desert scape front yards. Not all of them. There's still grass here and there. People still have lawns. But you want to compare that to over 130 golf courses. Courses. Not like some rich asshole that has a putting green in his backyard. Golf courses in a desert. So that's when I put a comment on this post. It's like, hey, what about the golf courses? Like, I hope that golf courses are held to a certain criteria as well, and this is not just a thing that's like, oh, it's just placed on the lower class people. And some troll came back at me with this story of his friend that is a groundskeeper of a golf course, and he is the best. This groundskeeper friend of his is a wizard when it comes to conserving water. This golf course gets the exact amount of water it needs to flourish at its peak. No more, no less. That's how good this groundskeeper friend of this guy is, this troll. Oh, and by the way, he says, not like it rain. He mentioned that it rains all the time in L.A. He's like made a comment about all these lawns in Beverly Hills, and how much it rains in L.A. It's like, motherfucker, it does not rain. That is why we are in a drought. L.A. and where I live, Coachella Valley, does not rain. These are deserts. So this argument of it rains all the time, it's like, nuh-uh. Like, even in non-drought times, these are still deserts. If it rained all the time, there would be lush greenery. Have you been to Portland? Have you been to Washington? Have you been to places where it rains all the time? Look how much green shit is around. So it's clear he's a troll, right? He's just somebody defending the privileged, the golf courses. God forbid somebody talks shit about golf courses, so this guy is defending their honor on Instagram. But this is where I discovered this new feature that trolls can implement on their feed. Right? I mean, you can make your thing private, which most trolls, I think every person that's ever talked shit to me on Instagram has a private account. So that's the first step when you're a troll. Get a private account. Generally, the icon, their profile picture is not a picture. It's the default silhouette that Instagram gives you. So it's probably not their main account. They're too scared to, like, I have my name, Ray Taylor. So if I go to LA Times post about the drought and I make a comment about golf courses, you are seeing me, Ray Taylor, making that comment. But with trolls, you don't get to see their face, you don't get to see their posts, you don't get access to that. But also, when they make a comment, when they make a rebuttal, they make it look like it's an unchallenged comment. Like nobody has a comeback for what their bullshit, this story of their friend who's a groundskeeper. Because there's a thing where people can't reply to you. They can't use your name. They can't tag your name in a comment, which means they can't reply. Because that's the @reply system on Instagram. So I had no way to come back at this guy. And there's no way anybody could come back at this guy. Just forever, it's like his word is the final word in this situation. So stupid. It is such a stupid feature. And of course, Instagram's owned by Facebook, and Facebook loves to support those people. Loves to support those people. So yeah, I'm curious about golf courses. Now, somebody else said they use a lot of gray water, which I want to know what gray water is, and I want to know how legitimate that is. I think that that's just a bunch of wealthy people that live in those places and get to visit those places, and wealthy people aren't living in the same world as the rest of us. The rest of us have to pay their taxes. The rest of us have to suffer and deal with droughts because they're too rich to be bothered. How dare you? It's a game. Golf is a game that rich people get to play. Maybe there's a public course somewhere. I mean, if you're poor, you can kind of play if you want. It's possible. But it's like if you want to be able to go, it's not like surfing. You know, you just go to a beach. It's not like the coastlines are owned. They're not gated off surf like coastlines where you have to be a member of some kind of thing to be able to even surf there. Golf courses are for rich people, which is why it took so long for anybody that wasn't a white man to play it. Like, that is a very recent thing where they allow women and people of color to even participate. So whatever. That guy virtue signaling to the rich people with his story about his friend. Anyway. Join Inspired Disorder Plus today. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com/plus to join. Membership includes members-only discounts and deals. You get access to the Ray Taylor Show completely ad-free, as well as bonus episodes. You get access to the complete live painting archive. You also get access to every single podcast ever produced by Inspired Disorder, hosted by Ray Taylor. You get access to Ray Taylor's personal blog, as well as the opportunity to ask me any questions. So if you want to start a podcast, you're into art, ask me anything. And so many more things are being added every day to Inspired Disorder Plus. So sign up today, become a member, head on over to inspireddisorder.com/plus and become an Inspired Disorder Plus member today. Last but not least, is a post that somebody, what TV shows world would be the most fun to live in? I mean, there's a lot of fun answers to that. You know, you can go like sci-fi, you can go whatever. For me, the first thing that popped into my head that actually felt like, okay, yeah, that would be an easy reality to deal with, would be to live in the TV show world of Entourage. Specifically, I would be one of the Entourage. I'd be one of the friends. Right? I wouldn't have to necessarily be as misogynistic and homophobic as them. You know? I mean, I loved the show when I was in my 20s. And now when I rewatch it, yes, I rewatch it sometimes, I realize that it doesn't hold up. I realize that there's some issues with the show. But to live in the world means that I just live in giant houses. You know, most of my friends in my 20s were very similar to those guys. So, you know, and back then, similar to what I would do now, is I would talk shit about them, talk shit to them, talk shit about how, like, misogynistic and, like, old they are. Like, how just hacked their humor is. Like, I would love to just talk shit about them. But I'd also, you know, I'd have a room in a giant mansion, and I just have to, there's no responsibilities. I get to work on whatever I want to work on whenever I want to work on it, because my buddy Vinny Chase is making the big dough. I help him out. I'm like a moral support. I'm also a nice guy. I would be the example of what a nice guy would be whenever there'd be women around, and there'd probably be a group of women that like me because I was nice, in contrast to all of them, you know? I'd love it. That would be such an easy reality for me to just step into, just to not have, like, if I got sick, I'd have all the best medical care. Vinny Chase isn't going to let me die. Okay? I kind of like Turtle. Turtle's a cool dude. He's into art. You know? Even E. E was cool. You know? Business guy. Maybe he needs some, like, graphic design stuff. I'll help him out. He could manage my art career. You know, it's like I got stuff going on. I can just use them. Like, you want to tell me that the drama's going to cook some good food? I can eat good food. I can help him cook. I would be a beneficial addition to that team and, get to travel all over the world, get to, access to, like, movies and all that, different, like, forms of entertainment, like, effortlessly before everybody. Like, I'm all for that. Come on. I love movies. That would be my world. What would be your world? If you could live in a TV show's world, what would it be? Tell me why. For me, it would be Entourage. It's like on the surface, immediately, it's like, that's a horrible idea. Those guys are horrible people. But as you look about it, it's like, well, I'd be contributing to that. I'd be a different flavor in that mix. I'd stand out in a good way, I think. But yeah, that would be mine. Let me know what yours are. Let's do some shout-outs and get out of here, shall we? Shout out to LA Times, shout out Slash Film, and shout out Boardwalk T-shirts. But most importantly, shout out to you. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on YouTube and everywhere our podcasts are found. Binge the full week over at inspireddisorder.com/plus. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com. And follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!
Today is the day where you wake up and you realize that everything that you've been dreaming about, everything that you've been wanting, every goal and wish and hope that you've ever had can become real. Dreams can come true. What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.